What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rollin in My 5.0 podcast featuring yours truly, the infamous project, and the one only KASL Customs. This week, we've got another Coupe with Body Kit member with us. That's right, we got Dave with the amazing silver notch that was featured at Pitt's Coyote swap with a Voodoo motor and a big, huge, massive turbo. And I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, but Dave's sort of like that guy, that innovator, that Foxbody guru that kind of lives behind the scenes. And this guy's been doing like 32 valve swaps before they were like even a thing. So it's pretty impressive to hear about his cars, how long he's had them, how much cool shit he's been doing over the past decades. And you might not have known about. So stick around and hear the full story.
Okay, boys, let's do this. Mr. David Edwards. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. Heard lots.
Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, heard lots. Some good, lots of bad. So nobody. So what's kind of funny about this, especially given the fact that me, you, and Chris parked together at Pitt's, because, and we will get into this, we want to talk about body kits on Coupes, but you were the guy that Jesse never really gave a name to, but you've been over at his house helping him put that Whipple on, helping him with his old Fox project. Like, you were the guy.
I feel like I was. I helped quite a bit with it.
Right. So, okay, let's start at the start. Like, what makes you the guy? How come you get the call, or are you just like the sorry soul that answers when he calls everybody?
Well, I met Jesse I was at AutoZone with my son, and I saw a red coupe drive by, and I jumped in my car and chased him down just to see what was up with it. So at that point, he came over to the house and we just kind of hit it off, about Mustangs. And then, just talking about the truck and the Whipple and stuff. He was going to take it somewhere. And I was like, dude, we can put that on, no problem. So, we just went at it.
Right. So now, are you a mechanic by trade or just somebody that's kind of always turned wrenches?
I'm actually an aircraft mechanic by trade. I don't do it anymore, but I've been diehard Mustang from day one. I had a convertible. I still got it, but my first car was a 91 convertible, and it's been every which way possible.
Okay.
So I know my way around a Mustang.
Right. What attracted you to the convertibles? Because it sounds like you're going to fit right in with us, because we already brought up the body kit, which we will circle back to. And Chris has always been a vert guy. I am a newly, what would you call myself? Like, I'm a new lover of verts. I've always loved them, but I never really thought of myself as being the type of guy that would go down to a dealership and buy a convertible. I just, not for any reason. Like, it's not that I didn't like them. It just wasn't a thing for me. Right.
To be honest, I didn't want a convertible, when I got the one I got. I was 15 years old and saving my money and saving it. And we went and test drove a bunch of cars. My dad's like, this one's too fast for you, blah, 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 blah. And then finally I was at the car wash working one day, and my mom called and said, hey, we got you a car. And I said, oh, really? Is it a 5-speed? She said, no, it's an automatic. And I was like, man, I don't want an automatic. So she said, but I think you're going to like it. It's silver, titanium. And I was like, okay, what year is it? She said, it's a 91. And I was like, does it have ponies on it? And she said, no, it doesn't have ponies on it. And I was like, well, great. So I go home, and next thing you know, my dad comes around the corner in this car, drop top, with ponies on it. And it was, I remember the day like it was yesterday. Like, it was the best thing ever. And at that point, convertible, you know, there's nothing like being in high school and having a convertible. And I keep trying to tell my son, I was like, dude, you need to get you a convertible. You don't know what you're missing.
The panty dropper.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had a bunch of good times with it. And I mean, I'm ready to redo it now, though. So.
Okay, so hold on. A piece of the puzzle that might be missing here. So your mom BS'd you on the ponies. Did she BS you on the automatic?
It was an automatic AOD.
Oh, it was.
But that didn't take long to get rid of. I T5 swapped it and went through about 3 of those until I put a Trimic in it, and then I got rid of that and put a C4 in it.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's been, you know, any way I could do it just to switch it up. But
right.
From aluminum head, Vortec, A trim, T trim, nitrous, you know, it was the car to beat back in high school, and no one really could beat it.
Right. So am I sensing this in your voice? Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still got it.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
It's going to be my next project. I'm thinking about doing a Godzilla in it.
Nice.
Very cool.
I keep thinking, you know, I've got Coyotes and these other cars and the Voodoo and all that, and I'm kind of want to go back with the push rod. But for the amount of money it would cost to put a, you know, push rod old style 5.0 in it, I'd probably rather do the Godzilla swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's reached that point.
Crazy.
The technology,
crazy what the costs are.
Yeah. But I hadn't really decided yet. My son keeps saying, you need to make it stock, Dad. I'm like, we can't make it stock. It can't be stock. You know, I can't do stock.
Right. So, and yeah, you can get your learners in Tennessee at 15 too, can't you?
I believe so. I know that all those laws have changed and stuff, and I don't know. We still got a way to go for my son to start driving. I mean, he's only 10, but it'll be here before I know it. So.
Oh yeah, start him off right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get this 91. Now you must have had a love for them before that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Got bit by the bug.
Well, my dad had a 79 Gia.
Right.
I remember riding a preschool in it. And when I was in kindergarten, I told my parents my first car was going to be a Mustang. And, you know, as long as I can remember, when those first 87 GTs came out with the ground effects on it, I was like, I'm going to have one of those. Just the 5.0 version, not necessarily the GT, and I guess I just stuck with what I wanted. And then I finally rode in one when I was 15, saving for the car that I wanted. A friend of mine brought his car over. It was a friend of mine's friend. It was a 91 hatchback with some welds on it. And it had 373 gears in it. And he took me for a ride in it, slamming those gears. And I couldn't think about anything else besides Mustangs from that point on. I mean, if you try to have a conversation with me as a kid, it was like, enough about that. Let's talk about my car. You know, and my parents and my friends and all them, they're like sick of hearing Mustangs, but it was such an addiction to me. Like, that's all I cared about.
Right.
And
that's awesome.
I mean, it's different being older now, you know, but when you're a kid and you have something like that, it's all my money went to it.
Right.
And it still does.
Yeah.
But.
It's funny, you know, we've talked about that too, like how somehow, you know, these things get you. And if I'm being honest, like, I think it's not just the select few of us that are fortunate enough to find one or get one, whatever. Like, I know people that have never had one. Hell, I know girls that have never had one and talk about them like they remember them from high school.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know what it is about them. Well, I mean, I can name all the things that I like, and so could the rest of you, but like, I don't know what it is about these cars. Like, what's that thing? What's that it factor that pulls everybody in?
Probably them Flowmasters back in the day.
That's the thing. Like I say the same kind of deal. It's like they like touch on all 5 of your senses all at the same time. Whereas, I mean, I don't know, I guess you could make the argument about anything automotive like that, right? They got a smell, they got a sound, they got a look, they got a whatever, a feel. But yeah, there's just something special about these things.
Yeah, I think those pony wheels, you know, when they came out, and then just the sound of them with the tailpipes was, you know, crazy.
Yeah.
Back then.
Just the right amount of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the 91, you go through all these iterations of it. How do you go from there to where you are now, where you're messing around with 5.2 Voodoos?
Well, with it being a convertible, I mean, it had like a 8-point cage in it and all that, and it was going high 10s, low 11s. I was like, you know, I want to build an actual race car. And I was probably 20 when I decided that. So in A&P school, this guy came up to me and said he had an 89 4-cylinder coupe with a blown motor in it. The car was never wrecked. And he told me he'd sell it to me for $200. It was his brother's car. And I was like, all right, let me come look at it. He said, we just need it out of my parents' house. And you know, those 4-cylinder cars, like it had less than 100,000 miles on it, but they weren't driven like the 5.0 cars. So like the chassis and everything on it was just, you know, not beat up or ridden hard with it being a 4-cylinder. So I look over there and I'm like, yeah, $200, I'll take it. And about that time, his dad pulled up and said, look, $100, you can take it with you. And he looked over at, I looked over at his son and he's like, Dad, I just sold it for $200. He said, I don't care, $100. I want it out of here.
Really?
So my wife actually, you know, bought it. She was there and she gave him the $100. And then at that point I was like, you know, 392 stroker, 400 shot of gas, C4, 750 lift cam, you know, deep in the 9s right off the trailer. I think it went 920 with a drag radial on it. But and it had GT ground effects on it. So it was I had it painted cyber green, which is that Volkswagen Bug color.
Oh yeah.
And that was like last minute decision that I wish I never would have done, but everybody knew it as the green car.
Right.
But I put silver GT ground effects on it, so it kind of gave it that factory look. And it had aluminum wing on it, you know, cowl hood, big fogger kit. And yep. And I had that for a while and ended up selling it. Well, actually, you want me to get into what happened with the car?
Yeah, 100%, buddy. I'm all in. So, and you said you were 20 at the time, but what year was it?
That was, let's see, I guess probably around, well, I'm 45 now. So, I don't know, 2000-ish.
Right. 2001. Yeah.
So, you know, I raced the car quite a bit and I kept having an overheating problem with it at the track. And come to find out I had the head gasket on backwards.
Oh, shit.
Oh. It was a copper gasket. And I mean, I tried everything trying to keep it cool. And finally, I just got so outdone with it, I ended up trading the motor, which was crummy on my part because I had Coupes and Company build it. Like I had so much money in this engine. But I ended up trading it for a 95 GSXR 750.
Oh, yeah.
That was completely chromed out, you know, show quality. Like never saw the bike, but I drove across Tennessee to go pick it up in exchange for the engine and some money. And then I sold the bike. But so I had the chassis with no engine in it, and I put a 32 valve in it, a built 32 valve with a 106 millimeter turbo on it. And at that point, I was like, started my business that I do now, and you know, didn't have the money because money was going everywhere else. So I ended up selling all of it, and the car sat for a while, just the roller. Then I sold it to one of my best friends now, And then he put 25. It had I guess it was a 10-point cage, but it was mild steel. And I mini tubbed the car myself, like with aluminum wheel wells.
Yep.
He bought the roller from me, put about 25 grand in it, had it for 2 years, and I started thinking about how I wish I'd never would have sold the car. And I called him up because he didn't have an engine or anything for it yet. He was in the middle of it, but he always has like 2 or 3 cars he's building at once, so it's not like, you know. But I asked him if he'd sell it back to me, and he said he would. So at that point, I got it back and kind of went to town with it.
Okay, and that's when you put the 32 valve in it.
Well, that's when I put the Voodoo in it.
Okay.
Oh,
The 32, I had the 32 valve in it after the 392, and I never got it running. I mean, I got it all the way down to wiring the car, and then it just got put on the back burner. And it, you know, life kind of took over, and I just didn't really think much about it. I mean, I've been out of the game for at least 15 years.
okay.
Like old Coyote time, you know, all these newer style, like I wasn't doing any of that. So like it was within a few years ago, it was all new to me compared to what 5.0 was, you know.
Okay. And that was all while you were putting your business together.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then the same guy that I bought my car back from, I mean, we go out to eat every week, you know, at least once a week. And his daughter's good friends with my daughter. They're, you know, 7 years old, but my wife's friends with his wife. So we go out to eat about once a week. But he had a Voodoo that he bought, like pieced it all out, all new stuff. And he said something about selling it. And I was like, you know what? That'd be cool in the race car.
Yeah.
So I bought it and then had the car painted and during COVID. And
Okay. So the car that you parked beside us, that's the green car.
yeah.
Oh, no
Yeah.
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting it all together.
Yeah. That's the green car. And that car actually was white at one time too. When I bought it, it was blue. And then I painted it white. And then I realized I didn't have the gun set up right. So the paint was kind of splattered. And even though the paint looked good, it didn't look good enough for me. And that's when I had it painted green. But
okay.
yeah, it's been a bunch of different ways, but I'm not changing it now. I got
Okay,
too
and that
much in it now.
right, and it started its life out as a 4-banger coupe.
Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you, I guess, gave up the race car for, you know, the business and all that other stuff, the 91, the convertible, has it been like parked, or were you enjoying it during that time, or were you like just completely hands off of everything?
No, it was okay. So the car was it's a 91, and I graduated high school in 98. Out of high school, I bought in 99. No, wait, it was in 2001. I bought a 99 Cobra. No questions asked. Hey, do you want this car for the low? And I did a 32 valve swap in 2001 in the convertible.
Oh.
Back before you could do any type of fuel injection. Like I was the guinea pig for fast. I don't know if y'all remember fast fuel injection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was the guinea pig, and they ended up buying the wiring back from me because it kept burning up coil packs.
No kidding.
So I had that car in 2001 with a 32 valve in it and fast fuel injection, which it was running, you know, its butt off. But I had to stop every 100 miles and put a coil pack in it, and they couldn't figure out why I was burning up coil packs. But I ended up switching the fuel injection over to a company called Electromotive. I think they're out of Australia. And they got their own separate coil packs.
Right.
So I wired all that up, and then I just kind of, you know, put it on the back burner, broke the transmission, and then that was the engine that I built to go into the race car. So the convertible has been sitting for years and years with no engine in it. in a
Right.
garage. And I walked by. I mean, it's got it's titanium and it's got ghost flames on it.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, ghost flames aren't cool anymore, I know, but
They're
I
coming
think
back.
if they're done right, I think I'm not going to go back with ghost flames.
Yeah.
But that was one of those things. What else can I do to this car that would be cool? So it made a name for itself. That was my original. That was my original Dave's Power car. So I was known in high school for my name Dave's Power because that was my license plate. And I wanted to bring it back, so I named the new race car Dave's Power.
Oh, that's cool, buddy. So yeah, I mean, Christ, I got so many questions. I mean, you were definitely, like you were definitely doing this shit way before it was cool.
Man,
I mean,
I put an independent rear suspension in that convertible in 2001.
really?
In my parents' driveway, and it was 30 degrees outside. With normal screwdriver and a hammer. Like it's
Like, I got to be honest with you, buddy. I didn't know anybody doing that then. Like,
I didn't
no
either.
one was. Yeah.
It was kind of, I was told that everything would line up, that the bolts and everything line up. And I just, had a bracket welded up for the rear bolts on the frame. And I mean, it was crazy how that car rode with independent suspension.
Right.
But you just you couldn't go fast with it. Like, back then you couldn't launch the car at the track. Like the wheel hop was just terrible. And they didn't have a fix. It was before that, they were putting parts on them, but I kind of wish they kept it like that, You look back at it now and it's like, man, I wish I'd have just left it alone.
Right.
But it is.
Buddy, what's funny about all this is every once in a while, Chris and I'll go on a rant about how, there's guys out there that aren't on Instagram or any of the social medias that are in their garage, head down, ass up, figuring things out that nobody even knows about, right? Like, this is almost like us finding out about the SR71 Blackbird 40 years after it's built.
Yeah.
And ran and missions and everything else. You're the fucking Blackbird. Like, you're the SR71.
Hey, I will tell you that I have messed up a bunch of stuff by doing it myself. But I feel like that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah.
And it's cost me a lot of money, but, I can tear something apart and put it together like, no one would even think is possible because I've torn a bunch of stuff up doing it.
Right.
And you never really know until you do it, but I would never rebuild a transmission. Like I don't even want to think about getting into a transmission. But as for, putting cars together and, knowing it's going to work, and like my race car, the one that I brought to pits.
Yep.
Like I had no idea it was going to be as bad as it was. Well, in my mind, like I think it's just over the top design wise, but it wasn't until, a few months out that I was actually seeing what my mom was telling me it was going to look like in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, holy crap, man, this thing is like very possible to win something at pits.
Right.
And it did, which was cool. Like I'm still, waking up in the morning like, did that really happen? Did dude really pick my car? And yeah.
That's cool, buddy. So how did the 5.2 come to be? Was it out of a wrecked car?
No, Justin bought a set of heads that had 900 miles on them. And then there was a company that he bought just the block from, a new block, and then a new crank, and then aftermarket pistons and rods.
Okay.
But the heads were complete with 900 miles. And,
unreal. So what, did they just have it for like testing or something?
I'm not really sure of where he got them from. I think he got it from Modular Head Shop.
Okay.
But that was, years ago. I mean, it wasn't yesterday.
Right.
But, and I mean, I went through a time I'm still, in the process of getting it tuned.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, I tried so hard to get the car at pits. Like I was out here every day after work till midnight trying to get that car ready to go, to a point where I don't even want to mess with it right now. Like, I mean, once going out there and, my family being understanding, saying Daddy's got to go work on the car, I'm just putting it on the back burner,
Yeah.
Come out there and look at it and know what I accomplished with the car in such, in that amount of time. It's like,
well, that, and you had a pretty like last minute discouraging obstacle too with the timing, right? Which you told me about, because like if that would have happened to me and I even had the thought of having to pull the whole timing cover and everything off again, I just would have been.
well, if I told you what I got to go through right now with it, your head would probably blow up. So I'm gonna tell you anyway. I was like, I probably won't tell them that, but it's all part of it. So I come back, Lon's been remote tuning it, and I got a feeling that it jumped timing. Have you ever worked on the Coyotes on the timing?
Yeah, I've done
haven't.
like the OPGs and redone all the timing on them.
So the Voodoo is a little bit different on timing. So no matter what you look up, like when you time those engines, it has to be like at 12 o'clock, at 9:30. It's not the same exact as a Coyote. Well, when I timed it the first time, I didn't realize on the gears that there's an L and an R. I knew that there's an L and an R on the gears, but I didn't realize each gear was interchangeable and they both had an L and an R on it. So when I put it together, it was off on one side and I didn't realize it. So I started up and it kind of sounded like a lawnmower. And I was like, man, that Voodoo sounds weird with that hood exhaust. Well, that's when I realized the timing was off. So I tore it apart, redid everything. And like Lund was in the middle of this, like, I don't know why you're not getting any readings, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting totally stressed out. So I retime it. It starts up and runs fine. Well, we get a few tunes going. I take it to pits. To me, it still kind of sounds a little off, but I just, thought, well, maybe it's just the Voodoo, with the way that they fire almost two cylinders at the same time is why it sounds like a four cylinder, which that is why it sounds like that. But I believe that, so I came home and did another tune on it, and he had me doing some like 6,000 RPM pulls on the street. I sent him the log and I said, it doesn't want to stay running. And he says, well, let me check it out. He emails me back. He says, man, it looks like something broke in the timing and that the pistons might have hit the valves.
No.
Yes. So at that point, I'm like, shit, what do I do? Like, I hope I didn't hurt anything.
Yeah.
So the next day I pull the plugs on it and we boroscope it. And on the reliefs, on the valve or on the pistons, they got a red coating on it, like a temperature coating or whatever on the pistons. And there was two little shiny spots deep into the relief. And I was like, well, there's no way that the valve would get down inside that, but it was just like a little hairline shiny spot. So I was like, I emailed Lauren. I was like, well, the pistons didn't hit, the rods. And he's like, well, you got lucky. And then I was watching some YouTube videos the next night or whatever. And I was looking at how close these valves come to the edge of the cylinder on the head. Or like, if you're looking at the bottom of the head, the valves are right at the edge. And I was like, you know what? According to what this shows, that is what happened. The pistons hit the valves.
Just kissed them.
Yeah. So now I got to pull the motor out of it. Yeah. And I don't want to pull it out from the top because I don't want to take the hood off. I don't want to undo the transmission, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to get a lift and drop it from the bottom.
Yeah.
And right now I'm in the middle of a kitchen remodel at my house, so now is not the time to buy a lift. So basically,
Right.
I'm putting it on the back burner for a few months, just trying to wrap my head around having to do it now that the car's finished. And now I got,
Oh, buddy. That's brutal. Yeah, because I was thinking to myself, Mike, okay, so that Voodoo, other than the 900 miles that were on the heads, was a brand new motor.
yeah.
Maybe I
I had,
shouldn't go any further with this. It's just going to make you feel worse.
no. I mean, I had the short block built by a guy out here called Southern Performance.
Okay.
And the engine's not hurt. I mean, if anything, I think it might have just bent the intake valves on the passenger side. But what I think happened is, so the plunger that actually plunges up to the guide that holds the chain on, or that holds the chain tight,
Yep.
those need to be pressurized in order for it to put tension on the chain. And when I collapsed it the first time, I used a vise and I started to turn it, and I was like, this is not a good idea. I don't think this is right. So I looked up a video on how to do it, and you actually can do it with just some channel locks. So I think I might have damaged that plunger, and it allowed the cam to spin once, like it jumped a tooth. So it's not to a point where it's like, it's not hurt. I just think I need to put some new. It is hurt, but it's not destroyed.
Catastrophic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm assuming just because of how wide, like you got to pull or drop the motor in order to get the heads off.
Yeah.
Because the strut towers are in the way.
And it's got head studs on it, so you got to slide the head up.
All right.
But it's not really a big job. It's just a big job to do it right now after I've tried so hard to get it to the point it's at.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that would track too, right, Dave? Like, you think about being just one tooth off, and it was just the one bank too, the passenger side?
Yeah.
Driver's side's fine.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So yeah. See, here's the problem with those engines though, is that you can't really check to see if it's off. Like you just have to start over, because once all those marks line up and you turn it over one time, they're not going to line back up unless you turn it like 60 revolutions. So there's no way to actually see if it's off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember doing even on the Coyote, right? Because once you do the sequence, because it's sort of like rotate whatever it is, like your 2 o'clock and this o'clock and trying to line everything up. So once you do the one side and then you go to rotate stuff to the other side, like you said, there's no going back to make sure that everything's lining up the way that it is. And then same thing, right? Like I remember doing Gary's motor with, so I did the oil pump gears and I had that MMR pickup tube that I was like, this doesn't seem right. Like, how is this going to stay? Like, is the pan going to push it up and hold?
Yeah.
Oh, either, right? To get a lot of oil pressure. A lot of people are like, send it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So there's a lot, right? So you got to rely that the timing's right. Rely that your oil pressure is going to do what it needs to do instantaneously after bolting everything back up, putting it all in the car. And if something goes wrong, the motor's got to come out.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so, it's always good on these Coyotes to pressurize the oil before you try to start it. So at least I knew, that it did have oil to the top of the heads. But, really, it's no big deal to me. It's just the hassle of having to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
well, at least, hey, you're a pro now. Like, it will go quick once you do it as well.
To be honest, like, I think, it's good for me to have to do it, because I'm going to take this car out and race it. And how many times do I got to take it apart and put it back together before I know it like the back of my hand? If it was a push rod motor, I know those. But these Coyotes, I feel like I'm getting the beat down on them right now. But tomorrow it'll be okay. So.
Yeah.
But
getting the education. How did you go? Actually, a couple questions. Do those heads have studs on them from Ford? or you just put
they-
studs on them?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you, when you put that motor in, did you come in from the bottom?
No, I came in from the top.
Oh, you did. Okay.
But see, it's not the problem of getting it in there. The problem is with that Power Glide is, you know, trying to get everything to line up from the top. Like I don't want to have to take the hood off, you know,
Right.
and worry about scratching it and all that. When all you gotta do is drop the K member with the trans and it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I could go back and do it again, I would have got a lift years ago and, you know, did it that way. But I always got to do it the hard way before I realize, you know.
Oh, buddy, if we all shared, if we all would have put a mark on the wall for the
Yeah.
amount of times that you'd had to go back to the parts store 2 or 3 times because you screwed the first 2 times up,
But
we'd have a lot of marks on the walls.
see, I've already, like my SC95, I got a Coyote in it. So I'm, you know, I've had that engine stuck in the engine compartment for about 45 minutes and can't budge it by going in to the top. And, but they do fit in there. I mean, you know, both cars have those engines in it. So I know a lot of people aren't liking Coyote swaps, but I mean, technology wise, you really can't beat it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
more
it's
people,
true.
more people are going to be leaning towards them a little bit later, but it's like
Well,
people always want what they don't have. You know, so I want an old push rod motor again when I've got the Coyote, and then the guys that's got the push rod, they want the Coyote.
yeah.
Hey, well, I'll tell you this: the Godzilla's timing will be much easier on you. You know, if
One
you
can.
cam swap that.
I know it will. But
Yeah. So what SN95 do you got?
I've got I got this one right here. It's got
Oh, nice.
it's got a Pro Charger on it, the 6-speed. And it made, I was in Caleb's dyno challenge like 2 years ago with it.
Yeah.
And it made 903 to the wheels.
Nice.
But E85, and that was like, you know, super hot day. Like it would make over 1,000, I believe, to the wheels if it wasn't so hot. But
Right.
I went out there and cranked it up, let it heat up before I went in there. And come to find out that was probably the worst thing to do because intercooler, everything heated up with it being so hot out. But it still put out 900. You know, I was okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a quick car.
I like the silver and white.
I appreciate it. The
Yeah.
guy that painted it said, "Man, that's not going to look good. I don't think I want to do that." I'm like, "I promise you, it's going to look good." And when he got done, he was like, "You know, that does look good. Like the way it's on the body line, it really sets the car off. I think makes it a little different than everybody else's."
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. We gotta get down to the bottom of this body kits on Coupes. Why did you put a body kit on your Coupe?
Like I said, you know, it had a GT body kit on it. And then I took it to the body shop. I've always wanted a 93 Cobra.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just have these thoughts sometimes of, you know, in my head that I think that I'll like something and then it'll just keep getting more and more in my head until I finally do it. And the fact of having like a Cobra coupe was, you know, I don't know. I couldn't get it out of my head. That's what I wanted to do. And then I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm going to get a lot of crap from people from doing this. And I do. You know, there's guys online saying the body kit ruins it. But, you know, I like doing stuff that people won't do or don't have the guts to do or whatever. Like, it's just something different.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody had an LX coupe race car. You know, all these turbo cars these days, they're all LX coupes.
Yeah.
So, you know, at least with the ground effects on it, it's, you know, a little different than everybody else.
True. So what year did you put the GT kit on it?
It came out when I painted it green, so it was like 2001. It had GT.
Okay. So this would have been in and around the same time we did then, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the body
Huh.
kit time. It would have been acceptable back then, regardless, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Especially
I
in a
mean,
two-tone, that would have been really unique. Because like I remember a buddy of mine had a Viper blue notch with a GT kit on it, and it looked pretty sweet back then in the day. But like I'd never really seen anyone two-tone a notch with a
well,
body kit.
all the Mustang GTs were two-tone like that. Well, not all of them.
Yeah.
You could get them color, but I've always liked that two-tone color. And instead of like the dull gray that you would get, almost like a satin gray from the factory, I did a high gloss with more of a like bright silver. So it still
Right.
gave that factory look, only more shine, and it stood out more.
Right.
But back in 2001, the internet wasn't like what it is today. So if someone didn't like it, you didn't even hear about it.
Right.
Now you hear about it.
So is
Yeah.
your convertible a GT car, or is the convertible an LX?
It's LX.
Okay. So that's part of the, like, if you had the GT, if your convertible was a GT, do you think you still would have put the kit on the coupe?
Probably not. I
Right.
kind of wanted one of each. So at least with the coupe, now I kind of got the 93 Cobra feel to it. And I'm not a big hatchback car. I do like them, and I would like to have one, but I prefer, the trunk.
Yeah.
Right.
But
That's interesting, buddy. Yeah, because I've said it a bunch on here, but like, my little town that I grew up in was 2,500 people, and there was my green 5-liter coupe, and there was a little old lady that had a 4-banger coupe, same car, other than wheels, right?
yeah,
And I was all like, I had a buddy with an SN95 that was yellow, like 90s bright colors, whatever, that time frame, right? And I'm just like, every time I see that little old lady running around in her coupe, I'm just like, fuck, like you would think that's my car, and I don't need that in my life. Like, I don't want to be the little old Mrs. Weir. I knew the gal,
yeah.
and so I was just bound and determined to make my car look different than that little old lady's coupe, and flipped through the magazines, found the Xenon ad, and I'm like, that's the answer right there. Picked up the phone, placed an order with Xenon, and the rest is history. And here it still sits the same way. But then, like, you got Chris, on the other hand, being out east in the realm of Dutch motorsports and everything else. And like, these body kits were kind of going on everything out there. So there's almost like, I would almost say there's more substance to like Chris's side of the story, because you're surrounded by this shit, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, that could look cool on a coupe or whatever, right? Because I don't think there was many Dutch coupes, right, Chris?
No, there wasn't. They kind of followed the same suit as Celine, right? Mostly hatchbacks. But if somebody did buy a coupe and brought the car in, then yeah, it would get outfitted with it. But like back then, coupes weren't desirable.
Yeah.
Like
That too.
GT Vert was like you had the money, and then normal GT, or you got a hatchback. Like I think, and then the hatchback with the body kit, I think was like that GT association. Like no one wanted like a bare bones LX notchback back then.
Let me tell you how I got the GT ground effects.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Oh, you went muted on us there, Dave.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Now we can. Yep.
So let me tell you how I got the ground effects.
Okay.
My friend had a 92 GT that was getting repossessed.
Oh,
And he told me that if I gave him my LX bumpers and $200, he would give me all the GT stuff. And he said it didn't matter because they were taking the car the next day anyway. And I was like, I'll take it. So, I mean, I drilled out all the brackets on under the doors, and switched it all over, and I was like, you know, it probably wasn't the coolest thing to do to the bank, but that wasn't my problem at the time. That was his problem. I just got the ground effects. So
Were the cars at least the same color, or did it have different colored bumpers?
no, they were different, but like I said, I got the car painted, so it didn't matter. You know,
Yeah. No, I meant like for the bank, they would have been like, "What in the hell?"
I don't know. I mean, they weren't the same color, but I don't know what the bank said when they got it. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't care. They're just going to take the car and auction it off or whatever they do.
Yeah.
But I got a story behind, you know, all the parts and how, you know, I think that's a pretty cool story. But
oh hell yeah!
In the military, the guy that did that, and he just retired as like this high-ranking like Ranger.
Oh, really?
He made his way all the way up through the military, you know. But
from repossessed car to 5-star general.
yeah.
Holy shit! I'm noticing a theme here with you and $200. You got the coupe for $200.
Hey,
you get ground effects for $200.
Got it for $100. $200 was the deal back in the day, I guess. I don't know. Now you can't, now you can't get spark plugs for $200. So
no, it's true.
But which I want to ask Chris something.
Yeah.
So I've been watching your videos for a while, and I'm all for like that low stance. But do you ever use drop spindles?
Yeah. So funny enough, my first real go around at the Stalker Vert, I had a set of Racecraft 2-inch drop spindles on it.
That's what I got in my car.
Yeah. So went with those and with the cut spring. And when I ended up selling the car to a friend of mine, it was too low for him. So at that point, like those spindles were expensive, like even back in the day. Like I think they were near $800 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was the easier part for him. He's like, whatever, I'll just throw stock spindles on. He sold them off. And yeah, I don't know. I think like it's so easy, like in reality, just to get those 2 inches, but like the cost versus, I guess, going about some different routes of achieving the same amount of low, like I almost can't justify it. But
the reason why I ask is because, you know, coilover suspension, it rides like crap when it's slow like that.
Yep.
And on both of my cars, I put those drop spindles on it, and it allows you to preload those springs to where they're not loose anymore. So like when I hit a bump in these cars, it's like, you know, factory.
Yeah, you don't get the clanking, or even when you're turning, you don't.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of like QA1's rectified it. A lot of people, because like the original coilover design, or what a lot of people go to, is a coilover conversion sleeve that slides over your strut, and you're 100% right. You're limited to the spring, and you get a taller spring or softer, and you're trying to play, or it's a shorter spring because you're trying to get slammed down, and then you get it's a concern with the bearings up top, right? Because there's a bunch of needle bearings up there, and if you lose or it slips out of the sleeve or something happens. But now with the new design, where the housing of the strut can thread through the mounting point, allows you to keep that preload on the spring.
But see, I think those springs, where they get their bounce from is when they're like compressed about half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, even though they're tight on it, I think if you can compress them and still keep the car low by the drop spindles, your car would ride 1,000 times better. Not your car, but any car.
Yeah.
It's got
yeah, I 100% agree. That's why, like, I've gone through sort of some of these iterations with the coilover stuff, and that's why I kind of talk shit about them, to be honest, because you know, not only that, but you are now sending all of that load through your strut tower, right? That's got a solid, you know, spherical bushing caster camber plate 9 times out of 10. So you're just kind of transferring noise all throughout your car, no matter how you're looking at it. So no, you're 100% right with that. That's why, like, I've started going back to just traditional coil springs.
It's funny how like you can ask someone that just put coilovers on their car how it rides, and they're like, "Oh, it's good. Yeah, I like it." And then in the back of their head, they're like, "Man, this thing rides like crap." They're gonna act like it's grand, but I don't know anybody that's put coilovers on their car without drop spindles and was happy with it. It's almost like, okay, so you saved 100 pounds. That's about what you did, and you made it ride like crap. But
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of those drop spindles, so you can preload that suspension.
Yeah. No, it's a very valid point. I mean, it's I think it just comes down to a lot of guys, they take the easy route. Because coilovers is usually like, oh, I don't need to buy springs and shocks and struts.
Yeah.
I can just buy these, and you got whatever, whether it's SVE or Raceland. Raceland's actually a pretty good deal because you get a lifetime warranty.
Yeah.
For like $500. But it all comes down to the body, which actually the Raceland, the Primos, which are I guess the one that has a 3-inch drop option over the 2. So their bodies are significantly shorter. So you actually get a pretty good preload on those ones out of the box. So some of these guys have got it figured out. But yeah, anybody who's doing the old sleeve over this and that stuff, like absolute garbage. It really is.
Well, I just wanted to ask you about it because I know that being that low without drop spindles, they're riding rough. It almost feels like you don't even have suspension on it.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what are you doing in the back to preload the coilovers back there?
Nothing. I'm on the race car. It's just got, this, I don't even know what springs they are on it, but the SN95 just has factory springs in the back.
Oh, I see, like factory coil springs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the back is as important as the front because the engine's in the front with all the weight.
Right.
I've never really, felt anything through the rear that you had to do anything with that, but I don't even know if there is an option to preload the rear.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have to get sort of the same, principle of being able to thread that body down. And even then, depending on what setup you have, right, it kind of depends on where they mount and the positioning of some of those coilover kits. They got the weird brackets that come off the shock mount. And then a lot of guys, they confuse it, right? They say, oh, I got coilovers, but it's like the adjustable spring perch with a separate shock. That's not a coilover. You know what I mean? You're just adjustable, adjusting where the spring height is.
Yeah.
Interesting. And oh shit, throwing stuff out of my pockets here. How did the SN95 come to be?
So it's a 97, and my dad actually ordered it in 96. And he drove it for 6 months. And I've got an older sister of like 3 or 4 years. 4 years. And she ended up taking over the notes and driving the car. And she put about 100,000 miles on it. And then decided she wanted another car. And with the equity that my dad already had in the car, she just gave it back to him. And then at that point, I had all kind of extra parts. We put a new 11,000 mile, not new, but 11,000 mile PI headed 4-valve in it, or a 2-valve out of a 04. And I basically had a bunch of parts that I basically just built the car for my dad to drive. And then it got to a point where I wanted the car. So I bought the car from him. Right. And that's when I ordered the Coyote and put it in it, crate engine.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. So you went crate too. Cool.
Yeah. And it's sat for a few years, all the parts and no time to work on it.
Right. So which generation Coyote is in that car then?
The Gen 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an illuminator motor. It's just the $8,000 Ford Performance Special,
Yep.
Which if I could go back and do it again, I'd spend another couple grand and get the illuminator. But I did that back in 2016 when I bought that engine. So 2000 then was a little bit harder to get than 2000 now, I guess, for me.
Right.
But
Very true. And so where are you storing all this stuff? I mean, you got two behind you.
I've got a detached garage, and I got the garage on my house. I got my wife's car over there, and then my convertible's in it. But we
nice.
do what?
I said, oh, nice.
We do have a problem because I promised my son that we would get his car really soon. So that's another reason why I got to get that lift, so we have another place to park. But
some stackability.
I do. Luckily, I got 10-foot ceilings back here, and I'm pretty short, so I just got to find a lift I can put in here for 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah, totally. Hey.
But my son, like I said, he's 10, and he's from day one he's been addicted to the Salines, and he wants a 99 to 04 non-supercharged because it's his first car. I got him convinced that he doesn't want a supercharger.
Yeah.
Because he don't need it. We don't need it at 16 years old, and he wants it red.
Oh yeah.
So I've been looking, and basically, 50,000 miles, 25,000. I want one that's garage kept, and flawless.
Yeah. How is the market on the new Edge Salines? Is it fairly affordable, or we know where all the Foxbody, like the value on the Fox ones are, but like an SN95 versus a new Edge, like what's the market on them like?
I mean, they're everywhere. If you just got to pay the money for them, but I'd say around 25 grand.
Okay.
For a non-supercharged garage kept, like what we're looking for. Maybe pay a little bit more if everything on it is exactly what, we want.
So it's sort of like termy money, sort of kind of on the low side, I guess.
Probably a little bit lower. I think the Terminator, I tried to get him to get a Terminator, but really that's too much power for a 16-year-old also.
Well, you can just leave the blower belt off.
Yeah, but he's going to be a mechanic. He'll figure that out quick. So, but, I mean, not to get on that whole thing, I don't know if y'all saw any of the posts that I've made on the 5.0 Asylum.
No.
But, my son is quite an artist, and we've started a little business for him, and dude's made like $800 in the past 2 weeks with his art.
I did see this, buddy. That's awesome.
And it's going straight to his car fund. So he's been busy drawing these drawings, and I'm having them printed out and putting them on boards. In fact, he wanted to know if y'all wanted one for y'all's cars. I was like, yeah, I'm sure they probably want one.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, they're turning out really cool. So.
Oh, that's cool, man.
You're a little hustler. You got to have something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hate that, the money seems like it's coming easy for him at a young age, and I'm not trying to teach that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then again, maybe he'll just continue with it or go the other way and go, do oil changes for $10 an hour and realize what he had, and we've all been there trying to figure it out.
It's not a terrible thing to instill in them, though, especially at 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
You start wrapping your head around the business side of things, and well, shit, you think about like Chip Foose, right? Like that was his racket. I mean, he was more of a, artist type designer than anything to begin with.
Yeah.
And look at him now, right?
I'll tell you what's really cool about it. And I know the guys that are purchasing them, they're doing it to help him at 10 years old. Like if I was to draw them, it wouldn't mean as much because I'm not 10 years old. I'm not putting my, heart and soul into drawing these pictures because it's just not as cool if an adult does it. But if a kid's doing it on his iPad, with a purpose, I just think it's kind of cool. we came up with Maverick's Custom Car Creations. So, kind of works.
That's awesome. Well, who knows? Maybe he does become Chip Poose one day, and everybody's got pictures from him when he was 10 years old.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But he wants to be a professional soccer player, so we'll see.
Well,
Maybe
money
he
might
gets
come real easy to him then.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't hurting for cash at all.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, I'm curious. So what took you down the path of aircraft mechanic?
Well, I've always turned wrenches. I mean, on whatever I could do, like growing up with constructs and erector set and, taking stuff apart, putting it back together. My mom told me, why don't you become an aircraft mechanic? You wear like a white robe or a white, doctor's coat or whatever. Yeah. And you don't get dirty and you make a lot of money. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. And then I got like 5 of my friends to go to school with me. And then we all kind of went that route. And I was like, this isn't really what it's cracked up to be. A lot of sitting around at airports and fixing broke planes when they come in. But I pretty much had a business going with that. And it got to a point where I just gave up aviation because I had so much other stuff going on. But I started a bathroom remodel business.
Oh, yeah.
I stay really booked up with and enjoy it.
Yeah. Because I would imagine that like an aircraft mechanic, you're probably almost working like fireman hours or police hours, right? Like you're going to have night shift, day shift, 2 on, 2 days, 2 nights. Like, is it like that?
I did it for 5 years and I worked second shift and I mean, it was okay. There really wasn't a big feel of accomplishment when you get home after doing that because, yes, people are like getting in the airplane and they're making it home because you got to defer something on the airplane or, even fix something. But it's just no feel of accomplishment. It wasn't to me a feel of accomplishment, even though I knew I was doing good, and I don't know. I just had another calling. With more money and a better time frame.
Yeah.
Work less hours, be where you want to be when you want to be there. You don't have someone telling you what to do. Well, you do, but not really.
Yeah.
I think I made the right decision to work for myself, but.
Right. Yeah. I remember thinking that when I was hell-bent on becoming just a regular old mechanic. And it was the summer, what was a 2-year program that I had signed up for. So I went to the first year, worked for the summer at a Ford dealership and worked alongside a guy that said to me, he's like, what the hell are you doing wanting to be a mechanic? I'm like, oh, this is what I've always done. Just like you, Dave, right? Always taking shit apart and putting it back together and figured this is my calling. He's like, yeah, but look at me. Like my back is buggered. My hands are black. It takes me the only 2 weeks a year that I get in holidays doing dishes for the wife to get the black out of my hands. So you don't want to do this, kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the end of the summer, he'd pretty much talked me out of it. And I think the thing of it is I just didn't get that sense of enjoyment that I thought I would from changing a water pump on, a Ford Explorer. Like, what the hell fun is that? Or, hey, what am I doing today when you show up for work, right? Oh, you got a brake job. Then it's like, what? I like this shit because I like the performance side of it and I like the creative side of it. I hate the mundane side of it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's great to know what you know so you can do your own stuff, but doing it day in and day out just did not appeal to me.
Yeah. Well,
now going fast day in and day out, that's a different story. Or like making something cool for somebody else, whatever. That's a whole nother animal. But yeah.
So I worked at Northwest, and after 5 years of doing that, I was like, I really want to work at FedEx as a mechanic because that was the place to be. So I quit Northwest and was doing flooring throughout the day. like tile floors and hardwood floors and stuff like that, and throwing boxes at night at FedEx. Because I was told that all I have to do is work for a year in the hub on midnights, and then I'll get on as a mechanic.
Oh,
Well, 5 years later, I'm still throwing boxes, working my butt off during the day. And finally, I told my wife, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I feel like my life is passing me by. Like, everything is relying on the future that's not here. Like, every day is just like a big drag on me because of how much I'm working during the day.
mm-hmm.
So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm just going to do my own thing. I got more money coming in during the day than I would if I was a mechanic. And even my boss said, she said, David, what are you going to do when you have to be here like on time every day and, and work holidays and all this? Because I would come and go as I wanted at that job. They weren't real strict about, you got to be here at this time, just whenever pretty much whenever you want to show up. But
This is the flooring outfit.
No, this was at FedEx.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I mean, I was my own boss doing the flooring, when I was throwing boxes. But I had so much work lined up that I was like, my wife said, I tell you what, I'll be on board with this if you can put up 3 months worth of bills. And, not like the house note, but everything else, just in case. And I was like, okay, 3 months worth of bills. I went to work that night and put in my 2 weeks notice and made 14 grand in 2 weeks. Like I knew that I had to get 3 months worth of bills at the time, and I couldn't do any more than throwing boxes. So that was the best 2 weeks of my life, knowing that I put my 2 weeks notice in. Oh, and then 2 weeks after I quit, they called me in LA with an interview as a mechanic at FedEx.
Oh,
yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, 2 weeks after 5 years, 2 weeks after I quit, they called me saying, hey, you got an interview.
Damn.
Wild.
And I was like, sorry about it. It was like an old girlfriend broke up with you. She ain't taking you back.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, it wouldn't matter if they would have called me 2 weeks before. Like, I already made my mind up that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I feel everything.
Is that how everybody... is that how anybody gets any sort of higher up in FedEx? Like, you got to go throw boxes first?
Well, it depends. Like, if I had experience, 5 years aircraft maintenance experience, but not on their type jet. So I would have started as like a junior mechanic. But if you had senior experience, then you could come right in. But as soon as I quit, it's like they hired everybody. I mean, they were all shorthanded, and people were retiring. And a bunch of my friends were like, if you want on, we can get you on right now. I'm like, there's no way I'm going back to doing that. It's a gravy job that you can make a lot of money, but I didn't want to work overtime. I didn't want to go to the airport 30 minutes away every day in rush hour traffic like that. That's not what I want to do. So.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to touch the hot stove, right? Well, sometimes it takes you 5 years of touching the hot stove to realize that it's hot and you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, right? And I mean, I think it's a little different for everybody, but when you got a gal, like it sounds like you do in your life that is willing to, whatever, I guess, trust you that, yeah, you know what, this is going to be a good idea. We're not going to go hungry. No one's going to repossess the house, whatever. And take that leap of faith. And I think something happens when you take that leap of faith. I know Chris talks about like he actually kind of gets enjoyment out of like backing himself into a corner every once in a while just to make sure he's still got a pulse, like make sure you can still swim, throw yourself off the deep end.
I like to be in a certain stress area in life. You know what I'm saying? Like if I wake up like on vacation, if I got to have some type of stress, I got to have something going on that's giving me stress. Like there is no part of, being comfortable with no stress. I don't want that. I mean, I know that might sound stupid to some, but like, I don't know.
See, I think anybody who's like a fixer or a problem solver in their mind, you always need a problem to solve. Is
Yeah.
probably the best way to put it. So it's not necessarily stress, but it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, come at me with something. If you're sitting on the beach,
Yeah.
like unless the damn chair breaks and you got to fix the chair so you can
Yeah.
sit out in the sun on it, you know, it can be challenging.
I mean, I go down to my parents' house at the beach or my in-laws, and it's like, let's put some recessed lights in. Let's do something. You know, let's paint this. Let's tile this. You know, I'm going down to my parents' house in a month or so to redo their shower. It's like, I just got to stay busy,
Yeah.
but not necessarily pulling the engine out. Like, I could think
Right.
of 1,000 things I would rather do than have to do that at this point.
But you know what's funny about that is, you know, I've got, okay, all of the stuff that I need to do, like real high priority shit in a day that, you know, has to be done. But I've also got this like backup list of shit that I also know needs to be done, but isn't as imperative. Right.
Yeah.
And I think for busy people, it's not such a bad thing knowing that you've got 4 kissed pistons that need to come out of a car at some point in time, right? Because you're like, okay, if life ever gets real calm, I know I've got something I can go and do.
Yeah, but see, you know, even with this car, I don't think I got to mess with the pistons. Like, I think it's just the valves. So I'm not
Oh,
gonna
I
have
see.
to
You can get by. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it barely touched them to the point where
Right.
you couldn't even, not even really tell that it hit the pistons.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Having those to-do lists, I know, because I've always said, like, I'm going to make a real good retired person one day because I got so much shit I want to do, you know?
Yeah.
I
That'll
was
last
thinking this the other day. Yeah. I was thinking this the other day. Went into a fast food joint in the morning and I seen, you know, the standard corner table, right? 3-4 guys at it, old boys, and they're telling war stories about their weed eaters and whatever else, right? And I thought, you know, I wonder what goes on after this safety meeting that they're having. You know, like what does their rest of their day look like? And I couldn't help but think that there's probably not a whole heck of a lot going
Yeah.
on in it. And in the old school way of explaining retirement, that's kind of it, right? You don't have a whole hell of a lot going on. Maybe you go for coffee with the boys in the morning, whatever. But then what? And the thought of doing that makes me want to blow chunks. Like I have
I will
no
tell you,
interest in that at all.
I've done a lot of work for retired people, and 9 times out of 10, if you retire, you're going back to work doing something just to stay
Yeah.
busy. Just because it's so boring just sitting around the house, and that to-do list that you're talking about will be gone in a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to play golf when I retire. I don't play golf, but I'm just saying that gets old.
Yeah.
You know, you work so long and you're busy so long, that's what you know. And as soon as you take that away, then that's when your health goes down,
Yeah.
you know, and your body slows down even more. I would say that's when the aging really starts, is when you stop.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true.
I don't think, unless I can't physically do it, you know, I'm always going to be trying to find something to fix somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my mom, well, she's a couple years into retirement now, and she lived a busy life and worked a lot. And she had all these plans of, you know, doing this, that, and the other thing. But like you say, that list pretty much gets the shit kicked out of it inside of a year.
Yeah.
And then what? So now I get pictures out her front window. Oh, you're not going to believe it, Garrett. They're cutting that goddamn tree down. I'm like, holy shit, Mom. Like, you know, I get it. That's a beautiful tree, but holy fuck, do you got nothing else better to worry about today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'm gonna be, I think, like, it's sort of, what was it, at the end of Shawshank Redemption, whatever, and
Yeah.
fucking dudes like building a boat on the side of the beach
Yeah.
or some like, I'll get into the canoe manufacturing business or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, but also the guy got out of prison and committed suicide because he couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, life outside of working every day, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, if you like what you do.
Yeah.
Old man
Hate
Brooks.
what you do. If you hate what you do, then yes, you need to retire and figure out something that you like to do. But
Yeah.
Hey, some people are good at doing nothing. I don't know how, but some people genuinely are wired that way. But
yeah,
I know I'm not.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't understand it either. I mean, I know that I can say this wholeheartedly. Like, I know that I probably run myself a little too ragged at times. So I could benefit from like winding it down some. But the thing with it is, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, owning a greyhound dog, right? Like those fuckers just want to run at 80 miles an hour all day, every day.
yeah,
And humans can do that to themselves too. Like you can teach yourself to run hard. And then when you try to settle her down a little bit, you're like, oh, I'm not doing well sitting still here. Like you said, let's go put some recessed lighting in the patio. Like something's got to give. So I know there's a balance somewhere in there, but I don't know. I feel a heck of a lot better and more productive. I feel like you sleep better. When you can rest your head at night going like, yeah, like I did some shit today and I feel like I accomplished something.
yeah.
Everything's better.
Yeah.
But I think to your point too, Dave, like I've said this a ton on here, but getting as close to what it is that you want to do in life, well, maybe put another way is whatever you think you want to do when you retire, try and do more of that right now.
Yeah.
Like in your case. So, I mean, if you want to, whatever, poke around the house and remodel shit and you get enjoyment out of that, well, try to turn that into a job.
Yeah.
And see what happens with it,
Well, you're better off trying to, because we don't know about tomorrow, right? So it's whether it's travel or remodel or whatever it is, and a lot of people do. They retire and they travel. But what good is traveling when you got a busted out knee or sore
Yeah.
back or whatever else,
Yeah.
and you can't go on the excursions and do the things that you want to do, and then you end up on like the group tours, or walking or like the big bus tour because you can't like do the actual physical shit yourself.
Yeah, but also you got to look at the big picture that we might not be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
So every day you got to, try to do something that you enjoy doing, because if you're stuck doing some stuff that you don't want to do and that's all you do, I mean, even for like traveling, if you want to travel, you need to start traveling now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Don't
exactly.
don't wait to retire. Like I want to race cars. Like I want to take my race car to a bunch of events and race it down the track. I want to do that now because I might not be here in 10 years. I might not be here in
Yeah.
5 years.
Man, you better
Yep.
go change those valves.
I know. Hey, I'm on it. I think about it daily. Every time I walk by, I turn my nose up at it.
Yeah. No, those are good points. Nothing's promised, right? No, tomorrow ain't tonight. It's not,
And I just got some new granite countertops put in last week, and this company I use for years, that had a guy that comes out and measures named Carl, and every time he comes to my jobs and he talks for at least an hour, about everything but granite, just about work and family problems, whatever. 2 days after he came out and measured my countertop, the owner of the granite company called and said that his stepson shot him and killed him.
Really?
This was last week. And I'm talking about a guy that I just gave a real street hoodie to because he's got a Mustang. And he was going to come over this week and buy the hood off my convertible for his convertible.
Oh
and
my God.
A phone call, killed. It's like, I'm sure he didn't plan that at the beginning of the week.
No.
But you never know. You never know.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think about all the close calls that well, I've never had a close call like that. That's a whole nother animal. But all the close calls I've had in my life, whether it be in a car, walking down a mountain, hell, just like packing groceries in the house and you toe pick 3 steps in and fucking almost hit your teeth on the next stair, right? Like that, like you hear about people dying from that,
Yeah.
you know? Like you never know what the hell could go on. Hell, I've been, not that this would ever kill you, but I've literally been shit on through the sunroof of my pickup by a bird. Yeah. Went and
Is
bought a
that
lottery
extra
ticket
good
that
luck?
day. I know. No, it didn't pan out.
Oh.
At
Yeah.
least it was a bird. At least it
Yeah.
was a bird. You know, you weren't going over an overpass or going under an overpass or something. And, you know.
Totally. Yeah. No, it actually, well, hell, why not tell the story, I guess. So the like 2 or 3 days before I had hit a deer. And actually this all coincides with us moving to where we live right now. But me and my wife, I mean, you get a couple drinks in us and we start telling this story about like how many times we face planted in life when we were trying to make this move. Like, I think any level-headed person would have waved the white flag and given up way before all this shit we went through. But I had, well, we moved out here in our RV, our holiday trailer, and I was living in my buddy's driveway initially. And I thought, oh, I'll find a campground shortly, and finally did. And I don't know if I looked at it in the dark or what, but the campground was a complete shithole. Like this was something straight off of Trailer Park Boys, Anyway, and then the wife and kids move out. Actually, no, that hadn't happened yet. As I was getting my trailer set up in this campground, I was going back to my buddy's house to grab some stuff that night, heading up the hill to his house. Deer comes out of the tulies. Boom, I hit this deer. So my bumper's hanging off my pickup, headlights falling out, get that all tended to, whatever. And then a couple days later, I'm coming home from work and I decided to kind of take the long way through town and sun's shining. I got my moonroof open and I'm thinking to myself, okay, truck's all fucked up. And I've had a lot of shit go on to this point in life, but I'm like, sun shining, like, I don't think it gets much better than this. And then whack, this bird shits on my arm. And it hit and just fucking grenaded everywhere. I had bird shit in the stereo controls, like it went everywhere.
Oh.
Massive bird diarrhea. And I'm like, really? Like, come on. This is not even fair anymore. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess the point in saying all that is whatever. You never know. And there's the old stories of gold miners giving up, 1 inch before the gold and everything else. But I don't know. Life's short and you got to laugh at it sometimes,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Well, I wanted to get you on here because, well, for all the reasons, we were parked together at Pitts and the body kit. I knew the story. I don't know if many other people did, that you were kind of the mastermind helping Jess Demess there get his truck, and you did help him on his Foxbody too, right?
Yeah, I texted him quite a bit saying, hey, you need to get on it. You need to get on it. You're working on it. You need to get on it. And then it got down to the wire and I went over there and put all the trim and stuff on it around the windows, painted it all, and some finishing touches.
Right.
But, it's crazy because at one point the car wasn't running right when he got it back from paint. And I went over there. We did a tune-up and everything on it. I was like, when's the last time you put spark plugs in it? And he said that the guy had spark plugs in it or put spark plugs in it before he bought it. And I was like, well, it's probably time to put some spark plugs in it. Let's do that. So we put spark plugs in it, and go to start it up and it's still running rough as hell. And we're like just scratching our head, like, what the hell is wrong with this car? Why is it doing that? We looked at each other. The intake pipe wasn't attached.
Oh,
We just spent all this time putting these spark plugs in. And the whole time, or it was like the mass air wasn't hooked up or the intake pipe was off. It was something simple, but we went ahead, we changed everything out. So it's good to go now, but it's one of those things that was like, hey, stupid, look up next time,
Yeah.
But no, and then we did the Whipple, and that's kind of tough to do on a truck when you're short. I had to get
Right.
in engine compartment, like I was down inside it. But,
You need one of those. You ever seen those lifted truck creepers where you like lay over the motor?
yeah,
That's what you need.
I mean, I was actually like down, like I could hug the engine. It did make it a little bit easier, being small and being able to get up in there. That Whipple's pretty heavy trying to pick it up and stretch so far.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
But,
So were you doing that before you lowered the truck or after?
that was before.
Oh,
Actually,
see, that wasn't helping you either.
Yeah, it was before, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But it really wouldn't have mattered, to be honest.
Yeah.
A couple inches.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. It's super cool that you kind of got like all your nostalgic childhood stuff still too. Like I never would have guessed the story of, that you had that silver car that long and gone through all those
No.
iterations and everything else. So that's really neat.
I mean, this got a lot of sentimental value. There's been times I've been thinking about, buying another convertible just to keep from having to rebuild mine. But I would spend double the amount fixing mine because it's mine,
Yeah.
and buy a car in way better shape than mine and tear it apart if I had to make mine better because that one was mine.
Yeah.
The burnouts, the donuts, everything I've done in that car, it's my car. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then my SN car, it's got, sentimental value, and then the whole story behind the race car. Like I'm not going to part with any of them.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not a big believer of, selling one to get one. If I want another one, I'm going to figure out a way to get another one and keep what I got.
Well, that's been my approach, but Gary calls me a hoarder.
Hey, it's money in the bank.
Assets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if an accountant would look at it the same, but I know guy math, it all lines up.
Well, the problem with the accountant, it's sort of like, that whole meme when you go to the tax office. How much did you pay for that car? $1, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Sentimental value is key. I talk about that a lot, right? I think that there's something special about the sentimental soul of a vehicle and all those memories.
When I was in first grade, I had a T-shirt that said, "He who dies with the most toys wins."
Right.
And I've tried to live by that,
Yeah.
But
yeah, no doubt. Well, and you don't hear too many people that have had a car that long anymore either, right? Usually something happens in life, you got to sell it or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. What was was it, I'm assuming because it was that many years ago, low mile car, like a one owner car kind of thing?
The convertible?
Yeah.
The convertible had 87,000 on it when I got it.
Okay.
So I got it in I think 94 or 95, and it was a 91. So it had higher miles for, when I got it. But
Right.
At 16, 15 years old, I didn't care how many miles were on it. But 87,000 really isn't that bad. I mean,
No.
it could be better, but you can't pick and choose
Nope.
at that age.
No, God, no. Yeah. That's a funny thing too, right? I can remember thinking to myself when I was buying my first vehicle, which ended up being a 89 Ford Ranger. But like leading up to that, I had looked at all these other Rangers. I even looked at what the hell were those Supras? Like I'm not talking like Fast and Furious Supra, but I think they were also called a Supra.
Like the 80s.
Wow,
You're not thinking
shit.
of like a Celica, are you?
No, but kind of like that. Bigger than a
I think-
Celica.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think there was some weird thing that was branded Supra, but it wasn't like
A
your
Mitsubishi
JDM.
Concord or whatever. Conquest.
No, like they kind of look like a 300 ZX or something, but like older than that. Like this would have been, I think it was like an 86 or something, 87 maybe. Fuck.
Oh, damn.
Goes to well, this kind of proves my point though, is that you didn't really give a what you kind of cared what you drove, but you didn't really give a shit. You just wanted to be driving. Like you wanted to be free out of the house doing whatever, right? Because there were some Rangers I looked at that I think I can remember a few of them like absolute garbage. But it was like, whatever. I just need wheels. Like I need to get out of the house, you know? So yeah, I don't know, driving was a whole nother animal for us back in the day, right? You just
Yeah.
wanted to be driving.
Yep. I don't understand the kids today that they don't even care to get their license. It's like, what's wrong with y'all?
I know.
The
Yeah.
freedom.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I think everybody goes to the whole like phone device online angle with this, but you know, when you think about it, like having that device in front of you
That distraction.
is okay, yeah, for sure distraction, but I'm like, you know, could you possibly sell it to yourself as it's also freedom because you can literally go anywhere you want on that device.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can watch somebody drive down the road in a hot car. You can look up titties. You can do whatever you want from that device. So like, is it, you know, kind of breeding it out of kids? I don't know.
I don't know. But it sounds like you've been looking up some titties on your phone.
My algorithm's a little fucked up, but it's the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, I don't know, man. It really boggles my mind to no end because I can still remember starting to study for my learner's permit like probably a year in advance. Like it was, you know, you were going to ace that thing.
I mean,
It's
I
the
didn't
only
even go
test
to,
to study for.
I didn't even go to school on the day that I turned 16 so I could go get my license.
Yeah.
Like kids are 18. Hey, when are you going to get your license? Well, I ain't got my permit yet. It's like, you know,
That's so foreign to me too. I know. I remember standing out in front of that office before it even opened to write my learners. And then same thing. Well, and you brought it up earlier, Dave, like, you know, the whole learner's permit thing's changed now. There's this graduated license shit. Everywhere's a little different. But when I got mine, it was 30 days later. You could do your road test. And I was the first, like, as soon as I passed my learners, I booked my road test. It's like, this is happening like 30 days from right now. And I was the first appointment that day too for my road test.
I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm thinking back when I was 15 that if I would be as cool as my parents were of giving a 91 convertible to a 16-year-old and saying, you know, be careful.
Right.
I just, you know, we're definitely going to have like a RPM limiter.
Yeah.
You know, and GPS on my phone for a little bit. It wasn't like that then.
No, it wasn't, right? And I mean, I think about that quite often. You know, sure, there's the argument that we can all make, which, you know, it was quieter times. You know, there wasn't cell phones, so you didn't have to worry about that. Drinking and driving was pretty much the biggest thing, right? That I think any of our parents would have had to worry about. But outside of that, like, I don't know, like fast forward to today's date, are we just that much more in our kids' faces and, you know, helicopter parenting the shit out of them?
Yeah.
But we also spend time on the road on a daily basis, and you're like, holy fuck, like there's a lot of wing nuts out here, you know?
I'm definitely the helicopter dad. I mean,
Yeah.
I get called that from my wife all the time. Like, you need to chill out. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm looking out for them, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I see it, but you know, if I tell you not to do something, it's because you're going to get hurt doing it. And then they keep doing it and they get hurt. It's like, well, I told you, you know, I saw it happen before it happened. You know, I don't want to be that strict, but it seems like I'm the helicopter dad.
Right. Well, yeah, you see those memes all the time though, right? Like it'll be a still picture of like 8 kids laying in the middle of a road and one kid in the air jumping all of them on his pedal bike.
Yeah, that was
And
us.
I know it was like 100%. You know, I got handlebar, like perfect circle handlebar scars in my guts from like hitting the weeds and spinning my handlebars into my guts, you know, like it was just, I don't know, pandemonium, you know? Somebody had a bag of nails and a couple boards. You're out building a fort in a weed somewhere. Like, and you come home when, you know, if someone got tired or somebody got hungry, like there was no.
I remember, you know, at a young age being out till like 2 o'clock in the morning during the summer, you know, probably 11, 12, 13 years old, riding bikes with all my friends that late. And it was okay.
Yeah.
But all my friends were a little bit older too. So I think my mom kind of, you know, took that into consideration that it wasn't just a bunch of youngsters out there, but
Right.
they were
Knew
at
that
least
they were
2 years
looking for
older.
Yeah. And I mean, looking back now, like, I don't know, I can safely say that we did get into shit, but I think the level of shit we got into was like way lower profile than any shit you can get into today.
Yeah. I think
Well,
like kids, it's almost like anybody who has a daughter is like watch Pretty Woman. I think it's like when you tell kids watch Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Like run from the train hitting you, get some leeches on you in the pond, and you know, got to rip them off and go hunting for dead bodies or some bullshit you heard stuff. You know?
Yeah.
you know, I guess my fear, what I was telling you about when the kids start driving, when I was 16 years old, I had my car up on jack stands at my parents' house, putting a nitrous kit on it. While my girlfriend at the time was, you know, in a chair sitting over there waiting for me to finish. And got the car on the ground, started up, drove down the road, went around the corner a little bit, opened it up, hit the nitrous for the first time, and there was a cop right there.
Oh yeah.
Over 100 miles an hour in a 30. He blocks me in. Three cop cars blocked all the way around me. And they come over there yelling at me to get out of the car. They call my parents. My dad ends up taking the car away for, you know, limited amount of time. I was supposed to go to the racetrack like the next day. Couldn't do that.
Right.
And all I'm thinking to myself is, man, I want to go to the racetrack. You know, 16 years old out there spraying nitrous and getting in trouble from the police. They end up telling me, we thought you were going to run from us. That's why they all pile up around them, you know.
Right.
And it's like, I sure hope, you know, no nitrous for my 16-year-old. Like we can't go down that.
What ended up, what kind of tickets did you end up with? Like these days, I think they just cut your license up on the spot, wouldn't they?
Well, they basically, it was a reckless driving. And I went to court. They ended up, I don't know how it ended up, but I got put on, like, my insurance tripled.
Ooh.
And I ended up having to pay my own insurance and all that stuff, which I did anyway. But you know, the slap on the wrist for me was having to pay for it.
Right.
And that's another thing I was saying. You know, I learned by screwing up.
Yeah.
That made me realize, hey, you stupid, you can't do that on the street. Well, you can. You just can't do it where you get caught. But
Right.
Mexico only.
yeah.
Well,
But yeah,
isn't there's some pretty strict rules and regs in Tennessee surrounding any kind of street racing now, isn't there? Like statewide?
man, honestly, I don't know. I don't do any street racing now, but
Well, I heard this. So Tom
I
and
think
John
they
and
can
Jesse.
impound your car. You know, if you pill out, if they want to, they can impound it and you'll never see it again if you get caught drag racing. But
Yeah. So Tom, John, and Jesse had the guys on, the organizers of pits, or a few of them, and they were talking about how good the cops were when, you know, we were all out there at pits, and also how good they thought everybody else was. And, you know, the cops had made mention of this, and that's actually where I heard about it. They said that, yeah, Tennessee has some sort of like, I don't know, I guess it's to the cops' discretion, but like if you're just coming out of a street light hot,
mhm.
or like showing any kind of intention that you're doing what you're not just driving your car, you're acting up. Yeah, they've got like the full power of the gods.
I will tell you here, you know, I live in Arlington, which is outside of Memphis. If you got pulled over doing anything like that, they would just be happy that you stopped, because people here, they wouldn't stop. I mean,
Right.
they would do donuts around the cop and take off in Memphis.
Yeah. So what the heck have you always been there, Dave? Memphis?
Well, I was born and raised in Bartlett, which is, it's not Memphis. The city of Bartlett's outside of Memphis.
Okay.
But we're just, you know, real close to Memphis.
So what's happened to Memphis? Like, why is Memphis? Because it probably wasn't always this way, was it?
I mean, there's always been high crime in Memphis that you know,
Has there?
yeah. But I mean, it's also, you know, what we're talking about all these kids that don't want their license. There's a whole nother breed out there these days that do what they want to do. And I saw something the other day that there's like 350 murders this year in Memphis.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like
One a day.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't live in
Like,
Memphis, so I try to stay out of
Right.
the areas that, you know, are like that. But
yeah, because I know like it ranks quite high. Like, actually, it might be like the number one
it
most
is
dangerous city. It is, isn't it? Holy shit.
based on, you know, murders but like I said, I'm not proud of it, but I don't live in it. I'm
Yeah.
on the outskirts of it and just keep my head on a swivel
Yeah.
Right.
around. So
Yeah,
Well,
you
it's
never
funny.
know.
You just look at the Street Outlaws crew of Memphis, and you sort of kind of get a different vibe of individuals in that area.
yeah. Well, you know, on that Street Outlaws, a lot of those guys aren't even from Memphis.
All
Oh.
right.
Yeah, they just
JJ is, right? JJ and all his women and kids and all them.
I think, yeah, he actually lived down the street from a friend of mine in Savannah, Tennessee. But I believe he, like, during the show, he was living down in Mississippi,
Oh, damn.
like right at the state line, though. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, a lot of those guys aren't from Memphis. They just represent Memphis.
Gotcha.
But they're really close to Memphis, you know, it's, you know.
Yeah.
But
Interesting. Yeah, I've always been curious. I should maybe go down a bit of a rabbit hole and try to figure that one out. Because, well, like Tom, again, going back to the 5-0 Asylum, they had the guys on from Motor City Fox Fest this week. And Tom always takes his opportunity to make the joke about, oh, Detroit, right? Like, Make
Yeah.
sure you're shoulder checking and locking your doors and doing the thing. And I actually don't know where Detroit ranks as far as like dangerous cities are concerned, but I went to Detroit and I mean, shit, I even joked with Chris saying like, fuck, I don't know, maybe I'm just this like dumb podunk Canadian that's like, we're going to Detroit, no big deal. And maybe I'll be surprised, but I didn't see anything that I would have been like, ooh, yeah, don't want to get out of the car here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really worry about any of that. I guess living in Memphis for so long,
Right.
I don't know. It all depends on where you're at, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I
that's the
try,
thing. And
try to stay
you can
away from
find,
downtown. That's, you know, that's where a lot of
right.
the crime.
When you
But
can find shitty areas in any town, every town's got a shitty area, right? But for the city itself to be recognized as one of the more dangerous cities, right? That just piques my curiosity. Like, what happened? Like, how the hell does that happen?
it's who's in charge,
Ah,
you know, and who's getting paid under the table to do certain things. And I mean, that's what I
yeah,
was. It could be turned around. You just have to enforce the law. But
right.
there's probably some hands in the pockets of all that, you know, corruptness.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sure.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would assume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, right? Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. It's usually a duck.
Yeah.
I know any other area that you, whatever, look at the history of, and yeah, you start seeing politicians and what they're all about. And, you know, it usually starts at the head of the snake, right? What they're willing to let slide and not slide. But it's just crazy. Like, you know, going back to talking about when we were kids, you know, like if we got pulled over, you know, like I would never in a million years ever think to talking back to any of those officers in any
Yeah.
way other than yes, sir, no, sir. Like it was full blown ass kiss mode.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess I'm basing this a lot off of just like videos and shit I've seen, but you know, and don't get me wrong, I mean, maybe I'm cross-threading too many things at once here, but like you see some people that are, I guess, getting in the cops' faces and like, you know, claiming like, hey, you're interrupting my rights or whatever it is you're doing. And I guess there's a time and a place for that too. If you got a real dink cop, then whatever. But I was never in a position where I would ever think of questioning a cop
Yeah.
as a kid, let alone outrunning them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, maybe going back to I don't know if we should even bring this up, but like street bike days, I had some buddies with street bikes and there might have been some whatever choices made because it's a little easier to do it. Dirt bikes for sure. We never stopped. Like, you know, only the dummies stopped.
Yeah.
But we weren't, but that's the thing. Like we weren't, you know, tearing up downtown these like, what the hell they call those things, Chris? When they shut down an intersection.
Oh, the takeover.
Takeovers, right?
Yeah. That's bad here.
Is it really?
Yeah. I'd say most of those videos you see online is probably in Memphis. I mean, they
Really?
got kids with machine guns out the windows, hanging out the windows, doing donuts in the middle of the intersection with a cop behind them.
Goodness.
Like, what planet is that?
Right. Yeah,
And
see
then
the shit I'm talking about, like dirt bikes is like, you know, we were out riding somewhere and you got to take like, you know, a half a mile of paved road to get home. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's about as intense as we got. But that's a whole nother level. Holy
yeah.
jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, man. I got to do a little more homework on my Memphis stuff here because I don't know. Like when I think Memphis, I think Graceland, Elvis, blues,
I've
barbecue. You know, like
never-
that's Memphis.
Never been to Grayson.
No,
Mm-mm. Not a big Elvis fan.
right?
But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Elvis like most people do too. I don't think that I'd probably go check. I don't know if it was in the area. Okay, I'd drive by, but that's what I think of when I think of Memphis. I definitely don't think crime ridden, run down, whatever. Wild. Well, anyway,
they're rebuilding it. All of that.
Are they?
Yeah, all of Memphis is basically going through not all of Memphis, but a lot of the downtown that's been destroyed over the years. Developers buy all that stuff up and they make it all nice again.
Right.
And then
maybe it'll come around.
It'll get destroyed and then,
Yeah.
Need some regentrification.
Yeah. Huh. Well, anyway, shit. Guess maybe we'll end this on a bad note. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Dave. Appreciate it, buddy. Telling us all the old war stories. And hey, one thing that I was going to get you to talk about, at least to the extent that you can, is where Jesse's car went.
Yes, I do.
Right.
So that buddy I was telling you about that I bought my car back from in the Voodoo?
Yeah.
He bought it.
Oh, small world.
Yeah. And it's going to be nasty. He just sent me some pictures of it the other days. In the process of mini-tubbing it right now, but he's got a bunch of different going on. And I was trying to get him to go to that Motor City Fox Fest with me. And he's like, man, if I had a car, we'll go together next year. And I'm like, dude, just go buy you a car to take. Like,
right.
It's easier just buying one that runs, than hoping that you have it done. But yeah, it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Nice. I look forward to seeing it again.
He's got it all torn apart right now, smoothing the engine bay, and he can't decide if he wants to put this stroker motor in it with a Vortec that he has or a Kenny Bell Coyote.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to get him to do the Kenny Bell Coyote. I mean, he's already got all the stuff.
Right.
It's just a matter of, what does he feel like doing that day?
Yeah. What was the motor in it when Jesse had it? Was it just 5-liter?
Yeah, just stop.
Yeah.
I think it had a cam in it.
Okay.
But
so that came out and he decided to make it just a monster.
Yeah, he didn't even drive it very long. I think
right.
he trailered it home and drove it to work one day and then took it apart. But
this is the way.
Like he works 2 full-time jobs and life gets in the way. He's got some little ones. But yeah, like I said, we go out to eat at least once a week and
right.
talk car stuff. And he went to Pitts. He stayed with us, but I'm really wanting to go to that Detroit show. Obviously, I'm not going to have my race car there.
Right.
Could, but I'm not going through the stress of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, this is
a time frame,
Well, the nice part with Motor City is you could take the FN car.
Well, that was the plan.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out my time frame and what I can do to it, just to bring out something new with it, and figure out the whole soccer stuff during the summer. They've got a camp that I think falls right at that same time, and I just don't know about driving 10 or 11 hours. And I know you're thinking 10 or 11 hours, you could do that in your sleep.
Yeah, but, I'd do that before noon.
Yeah. But I really want to go.
Yeah. Would you drive it too, not trailer it?
No, I'd definitely trailer it.
Yeah.
I mean, I run X85 in it.
Okay.
And that stuff's like $12 a gallon.
Right.
You can't buy it around here So it's,
Yeah.
you know, I try to keep some on hand, but I'm running really low. You'd have to carry a lot of that
Right.
to be able to make it that
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Need a chase truck with a tidy tank.
I mean, I was talking about today, I know the car would make it, but I don't want to put it through that. You know,
Right.
that's too much like dirt to have to wash off the engine once you get there. I like it clean.
Yeah.
It's cool to work on it and go inside, you know, and not have any grease on you.
Totally.
It's usually
Well,
not like
that you never know what you're going to see on the interstate either, right?
Yeah.
Shit, Lewis, our buddy there with the 93 Cobra, he whacked actually no, that was before this, right, Chris, where he whacked that tire that had been shredded and fucked his
Yeah.
front bumper up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's freshly painted one.
Is that
Right.
one that the teal one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah. On his way to pits.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least he knows.
Yeah.
At least he knows a good painter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So, okay, buddy. Well, anyway, yeah, thanks so much for doing this, telling us the war stories. I was looking forward to this, hearing a little bit about the cars, especially hearing why you went down the road of putting a body kit on a coupe.
I
And,
appreciate the invite.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Awesome,
congrats
man.
on the award again too for Pitts.
Appreciate it. That was definitely.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it, you know. And that other turbo car there, the gray one with the
Yep.
twin turbo.
Hmm.
When I saw him over there talking to him, I was like, "Dadgummit!" Or I saw the car inside. Did y'all know that the cars inside aren't the top 5?
No.
So when they have those cars inside, that just means that they won an award. It didn't mean anything. They just picked 5 random cars to be inside.
Oh.
So they're not considered, they're considered the elite 5 because they were picked to be inside. But it has nothing to do with like position or anything in the event. I wasn't aware of that.
Huh.
I didn't know that either.
But I saw the gray car. I was like, well, dadgummit, I guess I don't get to be inside. And I was okay with it, you know, because I was just happy to be there after
Yep.
everything I went through.
No doubt.
For Kevin to come up to me and say, hey, man, I picked your car. That was freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
Made it all
100%.
worth it. Made it all worth it.
Yeah, all the headaches.
Yeah.
Cool, buddy. Well, yeah, thanks again for doing this, Dave. Appreciate it.
All
And yeah, man, looking forward to hopefully seeing that thing on a track one day soon.
I'm going to get it together. I appreciate
Yeah.
y'all guys and what y'all do. You know, it's awesome. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, hey, man, keep innovating and trailblazing.
I'll do it. I'll see you guys pretty soon, I'm sure.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll catch you soon in person, buddy.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
Okay,
Have a
thanks,
good night.
buddy.
Take it easy.
All right.
You too.
Bye.